Think of 6 centuries. A single empire almost constantly at war, against kings, sultans, republics, rebellions. Every century a new European power rises to challenge it. They conquer lands, lose lands, redraw borders, survive crises, and somehow keep an army marching from the Balkans to the Arabian desert for generations. And through all of this, they manage something almost no empire in history ever achieved. They don't go bankrupt doing it. Because the Ottoman Empire didn't just fight wars, it learned how to pay for them. The Ottomans didn't obsess over the cost of war, they obsessed over the finance of war. They built an empire not only with the sword, but with the pen. Welcome to historical finance, where empires rise not on swords, but on money. The Ottoman Empire lasted from roughly 1299 to 1922, longer than Rome, longer than Britain, longer than most states the modern world constantly talks about. But the real question isn't how long it lasted. The real question is how an empire that was almost always at war managed to survive financially. In the West, there's a common belief that empires fall when they lose wars. It sounds logical, but in reality, states are rarely destroyed by a single battle. Wars exhaust, yes, but what truly kills empires is money. Logistics, supply lines, bad management, and decisions that drain the treasury. The Ottomans understood this early. Instead of copying the European model of classic taxation plus a fully salaried army, they built something different and more efficient. A system where war could, to a certain extent, generate its own money. They began as a small frontier principality in northwestern Anatolia, led by Osman Bey and a few thousand horsemen, rising at the perfect moment as Byzantium weakened and Mongol pressure faded, leaving power vacuums ready to be seized. Their early victories were not just military successes but financial gains, because conquest meant land, land meant crops, crops meant agriculture, agriculture meant taxes, and taxes meant revenue. From the very beginning, war functioned not as a treasury-burning expense but as an income-generating activity. When they captured Bursa in 1326 and crossed into Europe in the 1350s, they stood directly on the trade routes between Europe and Asia, the arteries of the medieval world. Control the arteries, control the cash flow. Merchants from Venice to Iran, caravans from Cairo to Budapest, goods flowing from Baghdad to Istanbul. All passed through Ottoman-controlled corridors, and every passage meant taxation. War depends on food, weapons, and people. The Ottomans didn't always have more of any of these, but they had one decisive advantage: cash flow. Silk, spices, carpets, horses, timber, sugar, copper. If something moved, the Ottomans took a cut. But income alone explains nothing. History is full of wealthy empires that still collapsed. What made the Ottomans different was structure. They reduced military costs by design, treating the army not as a crushing burden on the treasury, but as a partially self-financing system. The timar system replaced salaries with rights, granting cavalrymen tax collection authority in exchange for equipping themselves and serving when called. This slashed salary expenses, encouraged local stability, and kept production and revenue alive. Ottoman wars became cheaper than those of European rivals who relied on expensive knights and mercenaries paid in cash. No money meant no army. In the Ottoman system, war didn't break the budget, it activated it. Alongside this stood the Janissaries, an elite, centrally controlled infantry funded through the devshirme system. Harsh and coercive, yes, but financially effective, lowering the initial cost of producing professional soldiers and keeping loyalty centralized. With self-financed cavalry and a professional standing army, Ottoman wars often generated profit. Each conquest expanded the tax base, created new markets, ports, and trade routes, and helped finance the next campaign. Geography amplified this effect. The Bosphorus, the Dardanelles, the Eastern Mediterranean, the Red Sea, bypassing the Ottomans was nearly impossible. They functioned like a toll booth of world trade. By the 1500s, they were among the richest states on earth. State monopolies on essentials like salt, coffee, and tobacco provided predictable income, while tribute from semi-autonomous regions funded armies and infrastructure. Most importantly, the Ottomans delayed foreign debt for centuries, funding wars through land revenue, trade tolls, tribute, monopolies, and spoils of war, but not forever. By the late 1600s and 1700s, the world changed. Europe industrialized, military technology accelerated, wars became far more expensive, and global trade shifted to the oceans, weakening land routes that once made the Ottomans rich. The timar system decayed, corruption increased, oversight weakened, and the Janissaries became a political force resisting reform. Modern armies required cash salaries, and for the first time the empire turned to foreign debt. In the 1800s, borrowing from European banks at high interest suffocated the treasury. By 1881, Ottoman finances were placed under international control, marking the loss of financial sovereignty. The empire's pen was no longer in its own hand. Sound familiar? Great powers rise through fiscal discipline, survive for centuries on innovative systems, ignore warnings, fail to adapt, and collapse when the economy breaks. The lesson is simple. Empires rarely die on the battlefield. They die on the balance sheet. Financial systems can carry a state for centuries until one day they can't. If this perspective changed how you see history, subscribe.